Level 1. The Rental Kart Kid. You're 9 in Dayton, Ohio, and in 20 years a Formula One World Championship comes down to you and the rich kid just ahead. Right now, that's the funniest sentence in the state because you're broke. Your dad rattle-canned your helmet with Rust-Oleum from the major it dried the color of a school bus, and your slicks are a month old because a new set costs a week of his overtime. Then Marcus rolls up. 9 family dealerships in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Box truck and engineer. He reads your helmet loud enough for both paddocks. Cute. Did your dad do that at the major? He did. Then the final and the sky opens. The track turns to glass. Every fast kid lifts. You don't. Last corner, last lap, Marcus leading. You throw it around the outside in the wet on dead rubber, the cart snapping sideways, and hold it on the edge until he lifts and you don't. You take the win his money was built to buy. An old mechanic wipes his hands on a Waffle House shirt and tells you the only useful thing anyone says all year. The car knows the line. You don't.
But it does.
Nodding at the Red Bull truck. That one's got the money. You've got the rain. Rain's worth more. 20 years. Remember that, man. Level 2. Junior Formula driver. The rain win buys you a test, and the test buys you a bill. An F4 team in Italy offers a seat if you bring the budget. Nobody says the number out loud at first, the way nobody at a dealership says the price until they've watched your face do the math. Then they say it. A season of Italian F4 costs more than the house you grew up in. Granted, the house you grew up in is in Dayton, so that's a lower bar than it sounds. Your dad remortgages it anyway. He tells you a month later, like a weather report, and you both pretend it's fine. Your mom runs a spaghetti dinner in the St. Rita's basement and a car wash in the White Castle lot. You raise enough for 1 set of tires. 1. Then you move to Italy. 16 years old, living over a laundromat in Finezza, eating €3 supermarket pasta and calling it training nutrition. You get the oldest chassis on the grid. Same car as everyone's on paper. On the stopwatch, money lives in the details you can't see. Marcus is a Red Bull Junior at Prema now, the team that wins this championship in its sleep. Knew everything, a simulator, a trainer who counts his almonds like they're going to run out. You share a mechanic with 2 other cars and warm your own tires on the pace lap by weaving like a maniac, because that's the only way to get heat into rubber you've run for 3 weekends. Your engine is down 15 horsepower. 15! Doesn't sound like much until every straight becomes a public event where strangers watch you get past. So you stop trying to win on the straights. You brake 10 yards later than anyone's sane. You turn every corner into the place you steal back what the engine gives away. At a wet round in Imola, it pays off. The spray comes up like a wall, half the grid parks it in the gravel, and you drive through the field like the water's a rumor. You win by 9 seconds. Your dad cries into a €4 autogrill cappuccino, and you realize the second mortgage wasn't a bet on the car. It was a bet on you. That's the loop you'll run your whole career. They buy speed, you find grip nobody paid for. Next race is dry, and Marcus reminds you what dry costs. Last chicane, last lap, you're ahead. He sends it from a zip code away, locks up, and uses your car as the wall that stops him. You're in the gravel. He keeps the place. The stewards note the incident, which is Motorsport, for we saw it, and we're doing nothing. He posts the onboard that night. Rubbin's Racing, the laughing emoji. Remember it. It follows you up every level of this sport, and the tax bracket attached to it only goes up. You don't post back. You sit in the car in the dark workshop until the team manager asks if everything's okay. It is not. You don't say that either. Your mom calls to ask why you're doing this to yourself, to her, to the mortgage. You tell her the truth out loud for the first time. You're not doing this to make Formula One. Plenty of fast kids get there and vanish inside a season. You're doing it for the number one, the championship, the whole thing. She goes quiet in the way that means she believes you and wishes she didn't. 6 weeks later, an email lands in your junk folder between a Prema invoice and a coupon for Domino's. Subject line: McLaren Driver Development Program. You almost delete it. You almost delete the entire rest of your life. Level 3. F3 driver. You don't almost delete it. You open it. And 9 months later, there's papaya on your car for the first time. McLaren signs you to their junior program and puts you in FIA Formula 3 with a midfield team, not the front of the grid. The car's a spec Dallara, identical to 19 others down to the bolt. In F3, everyone has the same car. The only variables are the money behind the setup and the person holding the wheel. One of those, for once, is yours, Monaco. Your first real taste of the place every driver lies about loving. The walls are close enough to read at 150 miles an hour. There are boats in that harbor worth more than the entire city of Dayton, crews in matching Sperry's, somebody's grandfather drinking rosé at 10 in the morning like it's a prescription. And in Q2, a kid you've genuinely never heard of outbreaks you into Saint Devote, you flinch, and you put the right front into the barrier hard enough to bend the steering. "Welcome to F3, your engineer says on the radio. Flat, like a parking ticket. You sit in the gravel of the most glamorous corner on earth feeling like the least glamorous man on it. Your mom mails you a care package of Skyline chili that costs more in shipping than the chili costs. You eat it cold over the Finanza sink and feel briefly, stupidly okay. Then Silverstone. And the old mechanic's sentence finally half lands, 2 years late, the way real advice always shows up useless until it's everything. You stop wrestling the car. You stop trying to beat it. You start listening to what it's already telling you through your hands, where it wants to rotate, when it's ready. You stop driving angry, and the lap time falls off the car like it was stuck there the whole time. You win by 4 seconds. Sky's commentary does the thing they'll do your whole life. Where did this kid come from? As if your entire history resets every time a camera happens to point at you. As if you weren't on bald tires behind a speedway while they were all looking somewhere else. Marcus, meanwhile, is gone. He's in Formula 2, testing an actual Red Bull Formula 1 car on a Tuesday afternoon, because they've decided he's the future, and the future doesn't wait in line. A rung ahead, a better car, always the better car. That doesn't change for a long time, and pretending it might is how you lose your mind. A journalist asks whether the dream is Formula 1. You tell him the dream isn't Formula 1. The dream is the number 1. He laughs, warm and a little pitying, and writes it down as a cute quote from a kid who doesn't know the odds. "You know the odds better than he does. That's exactly why you said it." You take 2 more wins. McLaren announces you for Formula 2, the last room before the big one. The press release goes to every outlet in the sport. They spell your last name wrong. 1 letter. Right there under the McLaren logo next to the word future. You read it 4 times to be sure it's really wrong. You don't ask them to fix it. Asking a company to spell your name right the same week they hand you the thing you bled for feels like too much. So you let it stand. You let the whole world meet a slightly wrong version of you. You'll spend the next 10 years being spelled wrong by people who are sure they already know exactly who you are. The correction is coming. It's just going to take a championship. Level 4. F2 driver. Formula 2 is the widest graveyard in the sport, and now you live in it. Everyone here was the fastest kid in their country. Everyone here has a shelf of karting trophies and a family that gave something up to build them. And there are exactly 20 seats in Formula 1, and 18 are filled by men in no hurry to die. Do the math. The math is the graveyard. F2 is the most expensive waiting room on Earth, and half the people in it are going to wait forever. You're McLaren back now, real team, real engineers, and it changes the pressure instead of removing it. In F3, you were chasing a dream. In F2, you're auditioning for a job that barely exists, in front of people who've half decided to give it to someone with a richer sponsor and a slower right foot. There's a pay driver 2 garages down whose dad appears to own half of Jakarta. He brings $30 million in backing and finishes a pit lane behind you every Sunday, and he has a seat lined up for next year. You have a phone that doesn't ring. That's the part nobody warns you about. Being faster is not the same as being chosen, and the gap between them is measured in money you don't have. Monza, the feature race, the temple they call it. And for once the nickname earns it 200 miles an hour down the old straight with the ghosts watching. You time the undercut perfectly. Box a lap before the leader. Put in 2 qualifying laps on fresh rubber while he's stuck behind a backmarker, and come out ahead when he finally stops. Then you nurse the tires 18 laps with a gearbox your praying holds, and it holds, and you win in front of the McLaren bosses standing in the paddock club with their arms folded like they're deciding whether to buy a couch. You lead the championship for the first time in your life. That same weekend, 1 paddock over and 1 category up, Marcus wins an actual Grand Prix for Red Bull racing. His face is on every screen in Europe by dinner. A reporter doing the rounds asks him about the kid tearing up F2 with McLaren's badge on his chest. "Who?" Marcus says. Then remembering, "Oh, the F2 kid, he's quick. A beat. For F2. For F2. A ceiling with your name spelled wrong on it. You could let that hollow you out. Instead, you win 3 of the next 5, and in the last round with a lap to spare, you clinch the Formula 2 title. Champion of the last room before the only room that matters. Your phone rings at 11 at night. You already know because McLaren doesn't call at 11 to say hello. A seat. Next season. Formula One. Your dad, who understands mortgages now better than any man should, doesn't say congratulations first. First he says, did they put the medical bonuses in writing? Then he hugs you like he's trying to reassemble you and take credit for the build at the same time. You hang up and sit in the dark and feel the size of it. 20 seats on the entire planet. You just got handed one by the company that found you in a junk folder next to a pizza coupon. You're about to walk into a paddock where being the best kid in F2 makes you officially nobody. And Marcus is already there, waiting, in a car you can't yet touch. Level 5. F1 rookie. Bahrain. Lights out. Your first Grand Prix. And everything you spent 18 years learning just became the entry fee instead of the achievement. The garage costs more than the town you grew up in. 60 people work on your car. 40 of them have jobs you didn't know existed. And there's a grown man whose entire career is the temperature of your left front tire. Your helmet the design, not the $60 Rust-Oleum job, but the same lines your dad drew freehand sits on a shelf worth more than his van. You're a rookie, which means you get the older spec front wing while your veteran teammate gets the new one. The upgrades go to his side of the garage. The blame, when a strategy fails, drifts toward yours. First race, you finish P11. First of the ones nobody photographs. No points. Nobody writes a word. Your mom watches the live timing app buffer on a laptop in a Dayton kitchen and texts, P11 is amazing! About a result that is, by every measure that pays, nothing. You don't correct her. She still taps the top of your helmet twice before every race in the garage and says, listen to the car. She's done it since F3. You have not finished a race badly on a day she did it. You'd never say that out loud. You're a little afraid it's true. There's a physio. Real, not paddock real, actual real. She's from Manchester, drinks her coffee like it owes her money, and understands the 5 a.m. flights and the ice baths and the specific silence you carry out of a garage after a bad Sunday. For a while, she's the only thing in this circus that belongs to you. By round 6, she's standing in Red Bull hospitality. You find out from a mechanic, the way you find out everything that matters sideways, too late, from someone who assumed you already knew. Marcus texts that night. My bad, bro. The laughing emoji. Same one from the F4 onboard. Same theft. Now with a $34 million deductible, that's his salary, and he still files it under comedy. You put the hotel treadmill on a speed that isn't sensible and run until midnight. You don't cry. You itemize. Every year, the guy who keeps taking from you moves further out of reach and treats the theft like a bit you should both be enjoying. Then your home race weekend, and the sky does you a favor. Changeable dry line, black clouds, everyone on slicks and nobody sure. The pit wall wants you in for intermediates. You tell them one more lap, then another. The rain holds barely on tires nobody thought would survive, and you drag the car home in 6th. Your first Formula One points. Scored the exact way you've scored everything since you were 9 behind a speedway, by refusing to be scared of water that terrifies richer men. The team notices. Your veteran teammate signs elsewhere for next year, and the pit wall looks down the garage, past the obvious choices, and lands on you. Real parts, real support, a real shot, P14 in the standings. Whether that's your ceiling or your floor depends on something you haven't been tested on yet. You're about to find out what your right foot is worth when they finally hand you a car that can win. Level 6, race winner, Interlagos, Sao Paulo. It's biblical out there, standing water in Sector 2, cars aquaplaning into the wall on the pit straight, half the grid too scared to breathe. The safety car comes in. Your engineer's voice, tight. Stay out, this is ours. You stay out. You keep the papaya car pointed straight through water that's swallowing everyone else. And when the flag drops, you cross the line first. Your first Grand Prix win. 23 years old. In a helmet whose real ancestor was painted with a can from the major. You don't remember the last lap. You remember your dad patched into a Formula One broadcast on the team radio, a delivery driver from Dayton, live to the world, unable to finish a sentence. 2 weeks later, Spa tries to kill you. Eau Rouge, flat out. 190 miles an hour, uphill and blind, and the rear steps out where there's no room for the rear to step out. You're a passenger. The barrier arrives. The car becomes a kit of parts. You walk away. Everyone says you're lucky, and you are. What they leave out of the highlight package is the neck. The team doctor uses the word manageable. not fixed, not healed. Managed like a quarterly project with deliverables. Your father, who reads that kind of language for a living now, would understand it perfectly, which is how you know it's bad news in a lab coat. You're 23. You drive like 23. You get out of the car like 44. Your mom still taps the helmet twice before every race. Listen to the car. She doesn't know about the neck. You've decided she doesn't need to carry it on top of the streak. And while you're managing your spine, Marcus wins 3 in a row in a Red Bull. That's simply on another planet. And the paddock quietly recolors your Brazil win. Lucky, wet, safety car. The car. An asterisk you didn't earn, printed in a font you can't delete. You know how to answer an asterisk. You answer it in the dry. Suzuka. Bone dry. No rain to hide behind. No chaos to credit. Just you and the fastest S's in the world and a car that isn't the best on the grid. You put it on the podium on pure pace. Third behind 2 Red Bulls that shouldn't be catchable. And you stare straight down the barrel of the camera on the cool-down lap. The asterisk goes quiet. Nobody says lucky in the dry. That night your neck's on ice and the machine hums its ugly hum. You've started sleeping with it running a sound you'd rank somewhere below a Waffle House at 3 in the morning. But not by much. And a rookie messages to ask how you're feeling. Good, you tell him. Good means I can drive. It stopped meaning anything else a long time ago. Then McLaren calls with the offer. A long contract. And more than money, a commitment. They're going to build the team around you. For the first time in longer than the factory wants to admit, McLaren says the word championship out loud, and they say it looking at you. You should feel like you've arrived. Instead, you feel the ice on your neck and the weight of 1,000 people you've never met about to hang their year on your right foot. And you understand dimly that every door they open locks a different one behind you. You sign anyway. Of course you sign. You have no idea yet what you just agreed to carry. Level 7. Team leader. Number 1. Your name at the top of the timing sheet inside your own garage, and a new teammate hired to hand you his toe and stay out of the way. It sounds like everything you ever wanted. It weighs more than the car. 1,000 people at the factory in Woking now build in the direction of your data. Every upgrade aimed at your driving style. Every strategy call breaks your way. And 1,000 mortgages quietly bend around your right foot on a Sunday. When you're the driver, the whole building wins or loses with your hands. Nobody mentions that the day they promote you. You feel it the first time you bin it in qualifying and watch the shoulders drop on the pit wall. The contract is enormous and there's no exit clause. 5 years. No door. Your dad who reads deals for a living now because the first thing you bought with real money was his retirement from the delivery route puts it flat. It's a retention package with no optionality. He means it as a warning and a brag at once. He's right on both. Belief with no door is still a cage. A gold one with your name spelled correctly on it for once. Still a cage. Here's what being the guy actually looks like. You eat alone in a house with more bathrooms than you have friends. Your teammate keeps a professional distance because you're the wall between him and a win. The engineers are warm until a debrief goes badly and then they're careful. And careful is worse than cold. Everyone in your life is on your payroll or your pit wall, and both of those are jobs. You went looking for the top of the sport and found a single chair, bolted to the floor, facing forward. Marcus, across the fence, is a multiple world champion in the best car of the era. The story writes itself, and everyone writes it. Marcus is the era. You're the chaser. Every profile of you uses the same word. Underrated. You are, by the numbers, the second best driver alive. Underrated is the most expensive compliment on earth, and they hand it to you like a consolation prize with a bow on it. So you go and make the number 2 hurt. You win 4 races in a season for the first time. You outdrive the McLaren over and over, dragging a car that's the 3rd fastest into fights it has no business being in. You put together the kind of year that turns a canyon into a corner. The gap to Marcus that used to be a country is now a single bad Sunday, either direction. The neck's still on manage. The nights are still quiet in a way money made louder, not softer. You have everything the 9-year-old wanted, and you sleep worse than he did. That's the trade nobody quotes you when you're on bald tires dreaming about all this. And it works. It comes down to the last race of the season. You, Marcus. 1 race for the World Championship. The math is simple and cruel. Beat him on the day, on the road, or the number stays his and the word stays yours. 20 years since a man wiped his hands and told you rain was worth more than money. You're about to find out if he was right with a title on the line. 1 race. Everything you built and everything you gave up to build it decided in 90 minutes. You've been driving toward this corner since you were 9 years old. You just don't know yet that you'll have to do it sick. Level 8. World Champion. You wake up on the morning of the final race and your body is wrong. Yas Marina. Abu Dhabi. The one race that decides all of it and your temperature reads 101. The team doctor takes it twice because the first number doesn't fit the schedule. He says carefully that he cannot recommend you drive. You tell him you're driving. He writes something in a chart and stops talking, which is what people do when they've lost an argument they were right to have. Qualifying. Marcus puts the Red Bull on pole because the car's been a rocket all year. You put the McLaren second, coughing in the cool-down room, which on any other weekend is a miracle and today is a problem. To win the title, you have to beat him on the road. Sick. In the slower car. On the day. In the garage, your mom taps the top of your helmet twice. Listen to the car. The streak has never broken. You climb in and decide not to think about what happens if it breaks tonight, because that's a door you can't afford to open with your vision soft at the edges. Lights out. 50 laps, wheel to wheel, close enough to read the sponsor logos on his side pod. Every DRS zone he pulls alongside, every braking zone you refuse to lift, and the whole championship living in the 6 inches between your front wing and his rear tire. One mistake from either of you in the season becomes a highlight reel of the worst day of your life, replayed forever. Your neck screaming by lap 10. The fever has your vision soft in the long right-handers. You don't tell the pit wall. Good means I can drive. It stopped meaning anything else somewhere around turn 4. Lap 34. Into the hairpin, Marcus tries it the same dive bomb he's pulled on you since you were teenagers. Same lunge from a zip code away. The one that put you in the gravel in F4 with no penalty and a laughing emoji. This time you've been reading Marcus since you were 9 years old behind a speedway in Ohio. You see it coming before he's committed to it. You leave him the room. Just enough rope. He locks up, runs deep, cooks his own tires trying to make a corner he was never going to make, and you're through clean on the inside while he bounces over the curbs behind you. Then a safety car, because the sport has a sense of theater. The field bunches. 4 laps to go. DRS armed. Your neck's a live wire and the fever's a second passenger. Restart. And the old mechanic's sentence arrives without being called. 20 years after a rag and a set of scales, you stop driving the car and start listening to it. It knows the line. You don't. But it does. You take the lead into the final corner and you hold it to the flag. World champion. The radio's just noise. You're crying inside a helmet whose ancestor cost $60 at the major, and nobody can see your face. Which is exactly how a champion looks when the cameras finally can't reach him. Marcus walks to his garage without looking at you. You want him to look. He doesn't. Then his story posts. 2 words. Respect. Earned. The kid who asked if your dad painted your helmet at the major just lost a championship to that helmet. And he said so without turning around, which is the only way you know he meant it. You lift the trophy. It's heavier than anything you've ever held. You understand, holding it, that this weight is the feeling of something being finished. You do not yet understand what finished costs. Level 9. F1 legend. There were more titles after the first. There always are. Once the door opens a second the next year, a third when the car was finally the best on the grid instead of the third. The kid on bald tires became the number everyone else got measured against. And then one day there aren't any more, and it's a Tuesday. No race. No fitness session. No engineer telling you your neck has opinions about the high-speed corners. The first Tuesday without a car in 25 years, and the silence has a texture. It isn't peaceful. It's unemployed. Your dad calls it noon. So, he says, have you thought about what's next? He's waited your entire career to ask that. The timing, medically speaking, is perfect. They retire your race number. There's a statue of you at the McLaren Technology Center, and on the night they unveil it, a stranger reads your name off the plaque and pronounces it right, spells it right. The same name a press release butchered the week you first mattered. It took a championship to fix one letter. It always does. Your mom's in the front row. She's holding the thing she used to tap on your helmet before every race except she laminated it. A little card sealed in plastic like a birth certificate. She brought the original to your induction. You nearly lose the whole speech looking at it. Because it's the funniest and most devastating thing you've ever watched a human being do. The streak never broke. Every race, every season, every level, and a laminated rectangle held like it explains gravity. You fly home to Dayton. Drive out to the old track behind the speedway. It's resurfaced now, smooth. No standing water in Sector 2, no gravel trap full of rich kids' mistakes. There's a mural of you on the wall. You in a helmet, the pro-designed one, the expensive replica, the clean commercial version. Not the $60 Rust-Oleum job that dried the color of a school bus. Somebody commissioned your origin story and got the helmet wrong. You don't correct it. The mural's for them. The real one's for you. Marcus is on television now. A pundit in a very good suit, comfortable the way he's been comfortable in everything since he was 9 and had a box truck. He says your name on air. The most underrated champion of his generation. Underrated. After the titles. After the statue. After the letter got fixed. You text him. Underrated? He sends back a laughing emoji, a warmer one than the F4 onboard, than the my bad bro. A different animal entirely, and then, bro, you know what I mean. You do. He was always going to be seen first, and you second. And nothing either of you did on any track ever changed the order the world decided on a wet afternoon in Ohio when you were 9. The fact that you won anyway is the part that never fit. Underrated is the most honest thing he ever said about you. A kid at the track asks you to show him something. Cheap gloves. Tires run bald. You know the exact shape of his whole life. You tell him the only thing worth telling. The car knows the line, you don't. But it does. He nails the next corner and looks at you like you handed him a secret. At home, there's a glass case. The title trophy. The retired number. The winner's watch. And in the center, a $60 helmet your dad spray painted with a can from the major, thinking it was a phase. Worth nothing. The most expensive thing you own. That was always the whole game. If this one stayed with you, like it and drop a comment with where you're watching from. Subscribe for more.